Hello, my name is Omar Rampersad. It's Wednesday, December 12th, 2018 at 2:55 p.m. in Toronto. I tweeted a bunch of tweets and a lot of links and just interesting research that I'm going to leave it up to you to draw your own conclusions. Um, I've been hearing outside the window that I'm being used as a guinea pig and as an example. And I am being tracked, gang tracked, I heard. And there is a warrant for my removal. I'm constantly being harassed about this by comments outside the window. And this warrant is to be served to me. And something about subterfuge. I'm to be charged with subterfuge and whatever charges, warrants out there for me, and so on and so on and so on. Um, I just wanted to say that I wouldn't know about this unless I'm being harassed about it. I wouldn't know that there's an order to remove me unless I'm being harassed about it outside my window by the person who got the order. And I hear that the constable or the detective who signed the order was Stip, or helped in getting it was Stip, who's working with the person who got it, who's talking about it outside the window. So the conversations outside the window is meant to, it's because it's loud, and I complained about this, and as I said before, there's a court case going on. So the person involved knows that when he talks and I hear it's upsetting. So loud, he engages, everybody in the loading dock that comes in are infiltrated. So they carry on the conversations outside the window. So I'm not going to say everybody is harassing me. Just the ones who come around me are infiltrated people who come around me intentionally to harass. So it's not everybody. These are people placed around you to do what they're told to do, and paid out as well. They're paid off to do, and they would use, for example, kids who you'd probably give $20 to and tell the kids, go around that person and say the word, or the words, we're gonna pick you up, trigger, right? Or bend down and pick up something, trigger, because it triggers in your head a pickup. And so these are all built-in triggers that are intentionally placed around you, words, actions, objects. They're intentionally placed around you to trigger you. So this is intentional, um, inciting to anger, inciting to violence. They're trying to, not going to get it with me. Um, but this is something that, it's an old technique that's been used for years and years and years, for as long as a man could think, I'd imagine. And so it's nothing new. But if there's a flag near your name in the system and the flag is public, then people are going to harass you. They're going to take advantage of the compromised status of you being flagged in the system. So my point here is I would not be tweeting about the things I tweet about unless I was harassed with it. The contents of my tweet is a reflection of what I'm being harassed with. And what I'm being harassed with are the contents of the reports being made about me. And 99.999% of the contents of that report are out and out lies, a result of instigated situations, setups, frames, deliberate twisting of the truth to make it look criminal, or to make me look like I'm mentally ill. Um, and it's piggybacking on one another. So the way it's set up, from the harassing comments I heard, is that anybody, once you're flagged, anybody who comes in contact with you can put their name on an account and take you out of the system because the surveillance is now outsourced under the new Terrorism Act. And I heard I was flagged as a terrorist. Um, this is just one of the many, 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 many lies that are used to get you flagged on a continuous basis, to have you monitored on a continuous basis. And this, as I said before, is a cover for, in my case, trafficking. The system of network stalking, I should say, gang stalking, is meant to smoke out, quote unquote, real terrorists. But it's being abused. In my case, it's grossly abused to provide cover for trafficking, as I'm suspecting was done in Rohini Besasa's case. And I'm strongly suspecting that Rohini Besasa was drugged. She was diagnosed with hearing voices, which I suspect was an experiment. And she was drugged and triggered into reacting the way she did. So I'm not making excuses for the action. The action has she has to take responsibility for the action. But there are extenuating circumstances that surrounds that action. In my case, since I'm suspecting that Rohini Besasa suspected something was going on, but she didn't figure out exactly what was going on. She knew she was being experimented with. She probably knew that she was being stalked and gaslighted and acted upon, but she didn't know exactly what was going on. She didn't figure it all out. The way it's presented in the community is that it's a game, and people are, in my case, that people are supposed to drop hints, and I was supposed to figure out the game. I'm not sure what happened in Rohini Besasa's case. I'm suspecting that hints were also being dropped, but she didn't figure out the entire thing. There are lots of layers in this targeting program, and there is a lot of groups taking part in it, and there is a lot of criminal elements that are taking advantage of the flagged status, the compromised status. So you'll have criminals of all kinds coming around you and try to take advantage of you. You'd have sex slave operators, you'd have pimps, you'd have drug runners, and out-and-out criminals following you around and testing you to see whether they can recruit you or not. Now, my background, like Rohini Besasa, is a very academic one. I was trained, I was brought up to excel in school, and I was trained to do so. And that training doesn't leave you. You carry on your life that way. So criminality is not part of my upbringing, and it's not part of my my psyche. It just is not a part of it. So no criminal is going to recruit me, or no terrorist is going to recruit me. In other words, well, what I should say is, knowing that that these people are trying to recruit, what I'm doing is exposing it. So that's my way of dealing with the situation: exposure. Another point I'd like to make is the targeting program is structured in such a way that if you talk about it, it makes you look like you're paranoid, you're delusional, and so on. However, if you back up your arguments with facts and real data, then there is no paranoia and there is no delusions. If you see a set of data presented that leads to a certain conclusion, that conclusion may or may not be right or wrong. But the process of getting there is a logical process. Therefore, there's no delusions. There's no paranoia. You're using a logical formula to get to your conclusion. There is no paranoia or delusion. The conclusion may be wrong, but it doesn't make you paranoid or delusional. So this is the approach I'm taking, in trying to back up what I am suspecting. I'm doing data collection, my heart rate in sync with my blood pressure. I have to get a blood pressure monitor. Um, I already have a microwave detector, which I'm using, and a thermometer. So all four together will prove the correlation between all four. So blood pressure and heart rate indicates pain. Temperature and radiation indicates torture, indicate remote assaults with directed energy weapons. Put the two together, you're being tortured to be kept in pain. Keeping in mind that there's an order to remove me. If you were to hit people constantly with a directed energy weapon that constantly causes pain, and in my case, I have a blood test that indicates continuous clotting, a lot of it in my system, that may indicate a high inflammation rate in my body that is consistent with my body being traumatized by repeatedly being hit, pummeled, and in this case with a directed energy weapon, which is pulsed. So if the energy is pulsed on your skin, then it's the same as hitting the person with your hand. So instead of feeling a hand hitting you, you will feel a pressure on your body, continuously pulsing in one spot. That will eventually cause bruising, and clotting, and pain. You'll also feel like a pinching effect sometimes. It depends on the technology being used, and it depends on how it's being programmed to be used. The sensations there are different kinds of sensations that gives rise to the pain. It could be burning, it could be a pinching effect, it could be a pressure effect, it could be searing, excruciating pain. It could be a combination of any one of those. So, if anybody, I also heard today that there is another warrant, and neighbors are signing affidavits saying things. I'm walking back and forth, whatever it is. I have no contact with the neighbors, none whatsoever. Absolutely no contact with the neighbors, and there is no suicidal tendencies, as you can tell. There is an ongoing effort to expose what's going on. That doesn't make me depressed or suicidal. Because the torture using this kind of technology that this microwave detector is picking up has been going on for the last 15 years. I've been blogging about it for the last 10. There's no suicidal tendencies here. Talk to you another time.